former Arlington Mayor Richard Green. High above, behind home plate, our Sunday Night Baseball broadcast crew, Bobby Valentine, is with Dan Schultz. Dan.
Steve, thank you very much. And while much of the nation, everybody on the eastern seaboard dealt with severe weather over the last couple of days, hurricane now, tropical storm Irene. Here in Texas, they have been talking about a severe, relentless heat wave that has gripped this part of the nation for the last couple of months. It's the evening now. It's after 7 o'clock local time. It's 106 degrees. It's 100 in the shade. It has been over 100 degrees almost each and every day. But they play on, mostly at night, thankfully. But they do play on here in Arlington. Dan Schulman with you here at Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. The rubber match of this all-important series between the Texas Rangers and the Los Angeles Angels. And it looked a couple of weeks ago like the Angels might be done, might be out, might have run out of chances to get back into this race. They were 7 games out and on the verge of getting swept in a 4-game series by the Rangers, down to their final inning, trailing by a run, and rookie Mark Trumbo with a walk-off home run. Instead of being 8 games back, they were just 6 games back. They closed it to 2 games back coming into this series before Texas erupted. Nelson Cruz and David Murphy, both with huge offensive games on Friday as the Rangers beat the Angels 11-7. Yesterday, it was time for the Angels to answer back. For the first of 2 consecutive games, Mike Scioscia starting one of his key guys on 3 days rest. Irvin Santana did the job, and the offense did the job for the Angels. 5 solo home runs on their way to an 8-4 win, getting back within just 2 games in the American League West. Look at how much ground the Angels have closed on the Rangers in the last week and a half. They have gone from 7 games back to just 2 games back with a lot of baseball left to play. Joined tonight, as always, by Bobby Valentine. Oral Hershiser still at Williamsport, finishing up with the Little League World Series this afternoon. Mike Scioscia started Irvin Santana on 3 days rest yesterday. He'll start his ace, Jared Weaver, on 3 days rest tonight. With the kind of season Weaver's had, you can understand why. Absolutely. The ball's in his hand, and Mike Scioscia believes it's starting pitching that's going to take him to the promised land. He has a guy going on 3 days rest who only threw 96 pitches last time out. He's a crossfire delivery. He has 4 pitches that all come out of the same chute. Very tough for hitters to decipher whether it's the fastball, slider, curveball, or change, and that's why the numbers work the way they do. This 176 average against his changeup makes him a devastating pitcher. Having an incredible season and certainly in contention for the American League Cy Young Award along with Justin Verlander of Detroit. You go back about 5 months, and Michael Young seemed to be on the verge of getting dealt by the Texas Rangers. Didn't really want to be a DH, had to move positions a couple of times. Lo and behold, they keep him, and what does he do? He does what Michael Young always does, and Ron Washington says, you know what? He's the MVP of this club. Well, if he's the MVP of this club, then most Texas fans believe he should be in the conversation for MVP of the league. He's been a very consistently great hitter his entire career, amassing over 2,000 hits. In 6 seasons with his 300 batting average, he has been the guy to go to day in and day out. Played 4 different positions, leads by example, and is the man to see when there's men on base and they need to be driven in. And he's down on the field in the Texas heat with our Buster Olney.
Michael Young hitting .338 this season. That's the highest average in your 12-year career. Why?
You know, I've been healthy, stayed relatively consistent, and just fed off my teammates. So as long as I'm putting together good at-bats, I'm happy.
Now you're facing Jared Weaver tonight. .264 average for you against him, 2 homers. What's it like to face him?
He's good. He's good. He's one of the best in the league. He's been good pretty much since he got to the big leagues, and he's only gotten better. So he's a really good pitcher. Obviously, we feel like we have a really good offense, so it should be a fun game.
Michael, thanks. Pedro?
Dan Herron, so much is being made of the heat here. You pitched here on Friday night. How taxing is it?
Well, it's very taxing. You know, the innings I had, I was out there for 20-plus pitches every inning. But, you know, you could see last night Irvin settled into a groove and had some quick innings, and it didn't affect him as much.
If you had any advice to give to Jared for tonight's game, what would it be?
You know, Jared's good. He doesn't need any of my advice. He feels good, and I think, you know, starting on 3 days rest, he's prepared himself well. And as a starting pitcher, I think your body kind of just, you know, accustoms to it. Yeah.
All right, Dan, thank you very much. Dan?
Bader, thank you very much. Also tonight, we'll look at the top candidates for the American League Cy Young Award. Justin Verlander, CC Sabathia, of course, the Angels' own Jared Weaver. The Baseball Tonight game will get you caught up on all the meaningful baseball from today, the latest on the division races. And it is unbearably hot at times here in Texas. How has this affected the Rangers here this season?
Forever, people have loved a good race. And they'll race for just about anything. The finest horses in the world gather in Kentucky every year to run for roses. In Indianapolis, people drive around in circles 200 times for a bottle of milk. The top cyclists in the world go to France and pedal all over the country for almost a month for a yellow shirt. Baseball's race lasts 6 months, all for the right to hang a small flag and the right to play another month. October.
And the race is on in the American League West. The Los Angeles Angels have cut 5 games off the Texas Rangers lead in the last 10 days. This is a big one. Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. The Angels will leave here either 1 game down or 3 game down with a month to go. And remember, the Rangers close the season with 3 games in Anaheim. You can follow Buster Olney and Pedro Gomez on Twitter. There was talk of an ugly tweet-off between the two of them down in the field tonight. Let's all get along, fellas. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/ESPN Baseball Tonight. Mike Scioscia in his 12th season as manager of the Angels. And, Bobby, he's had a great run. The Angels have made the playoffs 6 of the last 9 years. 5 of those years they've won the American League West. And back in 2002, as a wild card, of course, they won the World Series. They spend a lot. They develop well. They're really one of the top all-around organizations in baseball.
Yes, indeed, Dan. And meeting with Mike Scioscia before the game, I was amazed at how calm and collected he was, and confident that he's making the right decision pitching Jared Weaver on a 3-day rest cycle. Mike knows his players. He knows the game. He's as prepared as anyone who plays, and I love the way he does, in fact, compete and develop year in and year out.
Yeah, they're a team with some veterans in the primes of their career, also a team with a lot of young players just now making their way to the big leagues who are becoming contributors. Peter Borges, Mark Trumbo, and others have really become contributors for the Angels this year as they hang with the Texas Rangers, the defending American League champions. Here come the Rangers to take their spots defensively for the top of the first, and that takes us now to our starting lineup for the Angels, presented by Taco Bell. Peter Borges leads it off. Howie Kendrick batting second and playing second. Bobby Abreu will DH and hit third tonight. One of the hottest hitters around, Torrey Hunter, the right fielder, will bat cleanup. Mark Trumbo batting fifth at first base. Vernon Wells in left field batting sixth. Alberto Callaspo at third base batting seventh. Eric Ibar, the shortstop, will bat eighth, and Jeff Mathis will do the catching and will bat ninth. Still have that Torrey Hunter center field thing in the back of my head. Still trying to get used to it. Of course, Hunter in right field now with the Borges, just a great defensive outfielder playing center field on a regular basis. They will face right-hander Colby Lewis.
And Colby Lewis has a very good slider and curveball combination that is complemented by his fastball. His fastball is his pitch that he throws in and out, up and down. When that's working, he really is devastating as a strikeout pitcher with a slider that breaks 2 different ways.
Defensively, the Texas Rangers have committed the second most errors of any team in the American League. Only the Oakland A's have committed more. David Murphy, Josh Hamilton, Nelson Cruz left to right in the outfield. Michael Young at third, Elvis Andrus at short. Ian Kinsler is the second baseman, and Mitch Moreland is at first. Jorge Torrealba will do the catching tonight for Colby Lewis. Ron Washington talking to us before the game about the defense, saying, Elvis Andrus a little bit hard-headed. He's committed 25 errors on the season, a lot of raw ability, but can't take the game for granted at all. And of course, they'd love to get, and they will get, hopefully on Thursday, Adrian Beltre back.
Well, Beltre is their best defensive player, and with him to Elvis Andrus' right, it makes the young shortstop a more mature shortstop because he knows he doesn't have to go as far to his right, and he's always talking with the young shortstop, keeping him in the game. But Elvis has a great deal of talent. What he needs to do is understand the runners more in the league. And Ron Washington says when he makes a mistake, when he doesn't understand what he should be doing or where he should be during a play or during a game. He is immediately talked to about that. Ronnie was a great infield instructor himself during his days with Oakland, and loves people who can develop, and Elvis Andrus is developing every day at the major league level.
As is this young man, Peter Borges, the leadoff hitter and center fielder for the Angels. Another very hot hitter in recent days. Jim Wolf, the home plate umpire, rings up strike number 1, and we're underway here in Arlington. Borges, Kendrick, and Abreu. And quickly 0-2. First pitch fastball, then a good slider. It has dropped down to 103 degrees at first pitch here in Arlington.
And Dan, that was the slider that breaks across. He also has one that breaks down and across.
Borges wouldn't bite. Borges, a guy everybody in the Angels organization knew he would be a superior defender, but the question was, would he hit? He is hitting like crazy in the month of August. There's a bit of a sharper slider, as you talked about. Bounced that one in. Borges hit just .204 last year, but he's hitting .280 this year. Pops this one up, shallow right field, and coming on Cruz to make the catch, one down. Good for the Rangers to keep the speedster off the base paths. The Angels hitting 5 solo home runs in last night's game, and this is not a team known for its offense or its power. But boy, in the heat down here in this ballpark, no ballpark has allowed more runs or more home runs this year than this ballpark, and both teams have taken advantage of that here this weekend. Howie Kendrick, the batter. First pitch swinging, he laces a ball deep left center field off the wall on the fly. And Kendrick, an all-star this year, glides into second with a one-out double.
Everyone likes to work the count, but they know with Kobe Lewis's breaking ball is his bread and butter, and jump on him early because he likes to get ahead with the fastball. This ball moves a little on the inside corner. Kendrick is ready. Hits a line drive off the JC Penny signed out in left field, and it means 2 bases for him.
28th double of the season for Kendrick. Now Bobby Abreu. Mike Scioscia doing a little bit of juggling right now with the outfielders and DH spot, and Abreu not quite an everyday player. Usually will sit against lefties as they try to get young Mike Trout into the lineup. But against righties, here he is hitting third. Not quite the hitter he once was. Average down, power down. Still a good eye. He's walked 72 times this season. And a high strike, 1-1. Better than a .300 average for Abreu this year with the runners in scoring position. The Angels winning 8-4 last night after losing 11-7 the night before in a game that wasn't that close. It was 11-0 at one point. Hits it hard and into right center. That's a base hit. Kendrick around third, getting the wave. The throw will not be in time. It's an RBI single for Abreu and an early 1-0 lead for the Angels.
As the pitch comes in and is sinking away, you see Bobby Abreu with a perfect stroke on a low ball, getting firm in the front side, and as they say, dropping the head. What he's really is just golfing the low ball, having the gravity take the head of the bat, race it down towards the ball, and then swinging up to drive a ball through the infield for an RBI.
So the Angels strike first. Torrey Hunter takes inside. Hunter, another hot hitter. In the month of August, he's hitting almost 400, 391. since August the 2nd to raise his overall average to 261. 18 homers, still productive. And you can see with the first baseman, Bobby, holding on to Abreu, who's still a threat, and Kinsler really playing up the middle. There's a gaping hole on the right side of the infield.
Torrey Hunter is a pull hitter when he's hot, and he pulls in the infield on the ground, and he also pulls in the outfield, and the Rangers are shading him as though he is a pull hitter. He'll be hunting that fastball just as the previous hitters have.
Down to Dino Weeble, the third base coach, to see if anything's on. The Angels under Mike Scioscia, they'll run, they'll hit and run, they'll put a lot of plays on. Hunter, a 9-time Gold Glove Award winner as a center fielder. Moving over to right field with Peter Borges showing up on the scene. Vernon Wells, also a center fielder in Toronto. He's now the left fielder, and he won 3 Gold Gloves. So great defense in the outfield for the Angels. Runner goes. Pitch down and away. Throw down. Not in time. Stolen a base number 18 on the season for Bobby Abreu.
And a very veteran move with a green light. He's picking breaking ball and gets one. Torrealba has to backhand that ball and comes up gingerly, makes a strong throw, but it's late because it is a breaking ball, and Bobby Abreu gets a very good jump.
The Angels 5th in the American League in stolen bases, and they've got a number of threats up and down the lineup. Just outside.
It's the best fastball Kobe Lewis has thrown today. 2-2 fastball, trying to get him looking. Have to think he's going to throw a 3-2 breaking ball after throwing the 2-2 fastball.
He did, but he missed down and away. And the Angels have a run in and 2 men on with only 1 out. Abreu at second, Hunter at first. The veterans are on base, and the rookie is up. The rookie who's got the single most important hit the Angels have this season. Mark Trumbo, who leads not only all rookies, but the Angels as a team in home runs and RBIs, hit the walk-off home run off Mike Adams 10 days ago. If he doesn't hit that home run in the 9th inning, if the Angels lose that game, they would have been 8 outs at the end of that series instead of 6 out. They have since closed to within 2 games of the Rangers. Slider for a strike.
Mark has been very productive in his rookie season and trying to set rookie records for the Angel franchise in home runs and RBIs. Amazingly, though, he only has 20+ walks this entire season. He should not get a strike to hit in this situation.
That pitch not where it was intended to be, but it's still 0-2.
With only 22 walks, you see that is on. And I'm looking here since August 18th.
Yep. Since the Trumbo home run that beat the Rangers on the 18th, the Angels have gone on a tear. And if they win tonight, will be just a game out. Wouldn't chase.
But he has another 3 pitches that he could throw outside the zone, Dan, in this spot. And Trumbo will be swinging. 90+ strikeouts, only 22 walks. Aggressive, learning the strike zone, learning these situations.
Too much of the plate on that pitch?
I think so.
You want to see him bounce a slider at 1 and 2?
I think he could throw something up and out of the strike zone, and he'll chase. The jeopardy of bouncing the ball is you have 2 men on base, and if it gets away from the catcher, then you're going to be put in a situation that contact will bring another run across.
Fly ball to shallow right. Cruz there for out number 2. So Lewis gets a very important out, and now it'll be up to Vernon Wells. You can see everybody doing everything they can to somehow try to stay cool. It's been as hot as 114 degrees on some days. The high today, I believe, reached 109, about 106 just before game time. Vernon Wells is from this area, so he knows the heat very well. And after what has been really a very difficult season for him, just not hitting the ball at all, he has started to come alive in recent days. He is 9 for 17 in his last 5 games, adding a little depth to this lineup. The Angels going out and making that trade with Toronto, getting Vernon Wells after they didn't get a number of other big-time free agents in the offseason. They felt they needed a little bit more thump in the middle of the lineup and hoped that Wells would provide it, but it hasn't really worked out that way this season.
They tried for Crawford, tried for Beltrade. They came up short on both of them.
A little bit outside, a ball and a strike. Wells talking about the difficult transition when you leave the only organization you've ever known, with Toronto for many years, coming up through their system and in the majors as well, coming to the Angels. It's starting to feel a little bit more settled in the second half of the season.
And Dan, the way he took those 2 fastballs, he's sitting on a breaking ball in this situation. Vernon, a very experienced hitter, knowing that Kobe Lewis makes his living with his breaking ball, and I think that Vernon is hunting it right here in this situation.
Well, the fastball, 1-2.
Really late on a high fastball. It's 3 fastballs in a row.
An example of a pitcher reading a hitter's body language and crossing him up?
Very possibly, and you could see the way Vernon walked out of the box there and kind of kicked himself, saying, what are you doing swinging out a fastball? And that's a hitter's mind. You got to believe and have conviction if you're going to sit breaking ball in this situation.
Way inside with a fastball, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
He's had late reactions on all 4 pitches. He took the first 2, he swung at the 3rd, and the 4th almost hit him.
Lewis having to work hard here and get an extreme heat. He's already thrown 24 pitches in the inning. Jared Weaver waits for his opportunity. Young into foul territory, inning over. The Angels get 1. And a lead for Jared Weaver as he heads to the mound on 3 days rest for the Angels. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. And in part by the Volkswagen Autobahn for All event. Hurry in before the deals hurry out. Ed Schulman to Bobby Valentine back with you at Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. A 1-0 lead for the Angels as we go to the bottom of the first. This important game in the American League West. The Rangers 2 up on the Angels right now. Let's check out the starting lineup for the Rangers tonight, presented by Taco Bell. This is the third best offensive team in the American League, behind only the Yankees and Red Sox. Kinsler, Andrus, and Hamilton, the top third of the order. Michael Young, second in the American League in batting this year, will hit cleanup and play third. Nelson Cruz in right. Mike Napoli, the former Angel, will bat sixth in DH. Rich Moreland at first. Yovi Torrealba catching. And a very hot hitter the last couple of days, David Murphy in left field, batting ninth. On the mound tonight, plain and simple, one of the best pitchers in baseball, Jared Weaver. ERA just over 2. And he starts Ian Kinsler with a strike.
And you saw the opponent's OPS at 562. That's second in the major leagues. And the amazing thing about that, or in the American League, many people, Dan, look at OPS as an offensive statistic. But what they're saying with a pitcher's OPS is that when he throws it over the plate, they don't hit it very well, and they don't get on base trying to hit it very well.
Having the best season of his 6-year major league career. He has always been successful. Remember, as a rookie, when he came up to the Angels and ironically took the place of his older brother, Jeff, in the rotation, he went 11-2 in his rookie season. He's 79-45 in his career. And he gets a pop-up from Kinsler. Kendrick coming over, one down. Time to check out the defense for the Angels, and this is a good group, especially in the outfield. 12 Gold Gloves between him, and right now Borges may be on the verge of the end of this season in his first full year of winning a Gold Glove. Callaspo at third, Ibar, very good defensive shortstop, Kendrick at second, Trumbo, the rookie, is at first, and Jeff Mathis catches Jared Weaver.
And we talk so much about Peter Borges' speed, but he not only has speed, he has great recognition of angle off the bat. Mike Scioscia says Gold Glove winner hands down. People have to believe it.
Said he reminds him a bit of Grady Sizemore before the injuries. When Sizemore came up to the big leagues, just all the energy and enthusiasm and athleticism and great speed, good reads off the bat. Elvis Andrus, the batter. Texas shortstop, is hitting .267 on the season. He can run, as you can see, but struggling lately. 3 for his last 31. Their lineup is so good, you can have 2 or 3 guys really struggling and they can still score a pile of runs. Josh Hamilton having a good year, but not quite the season he had a year ago when he won the MVP. Ron Washington still waiting for that breakout stretch from Hamilton. The movement on that breaking ball, though Weaver's very unhappy with the execution of that pitch. .67 and throws way over from toward third base, so you can only imagine what it feels like for a right-handed batter.
And he starts on the third base side, and then he steps toward the right-handed hitter's batter's box as he delivers his pitch. And Josh Hamilton mentioned before the game that it's hard to decipher his pitches. That's because they all come out of the same chute. But he's also in this crossfire mode, which is a different angle than any other pitcher in the league.
You can see, if you look at the mound from the shot we had just a moment ago, you can see where Colby Lewis lands, which is kind of down and to the right a little bit, kind of at about 5:30, and then you can see where Jared Weaver lands over at about 8 o'clock.
It looks like a mistake on the mound, doesn't it? So he'll be stepping toward the hitter and then throwing to the outside corner.
Did you ever face anybody or manage anybody, you know, this lanky that threw this much from the side?
No, I think he's unique, and his uniqueness is also part of his greatness.
Another pop-up, this one in a very shallow center field. Borges there for out number 2. Well, right now, Justin Verlander may be the front runner, probably is the front runner for the Cy Young Award in the American League, but it's still not a done deal. The kind of season that Weaver has had, and if he puts together a strong month, certainly he's got a shot at winning the Cy Young. And he was rewarded just a few days ago with a 5-year, $85 million deal that's been portrayed as a hometown discount. Southern California kid, came up in the Angels system, went to Long Beach State. And he said, you know, how much money does one guy need? This is where I want to pitch. I want to stay here. And he took less than he would have gotten on the open market to sign a 5-year extension to remain an Angel. Josh Hamilton, the batter.
Josh is still hitting .293 this year, and he has an .853 OPS, as you see, but he's just not driving the ball lately after the All-Star break. That's what he does with fastballs. He's late on every fastball he swings at. His base hits have been fastballs to left field, and they have not been driven very well. The only ball that he's been able to pull has been an off-speed pitch in the middle of the plate. He's not going to get any of them tonight against Weaver.
Up and in. 2 balls and a strike. Ron Washington making an interesting comment to us before the game about Hamilton, saying he's still learning at the major league level. He's still somewhat inexperienced, I guess, alluding to the years that he missed when he was out of baseball.
Well, the one thing that Ron alluded to that he wants them to learn a little faster is he wants them to learn about himself and his swing. He says he's tinkering and changing his stance, changing his approach, and this time of year you must have it down.
A little bit low for ball 4.
When your slugger doesn't have it down, it gives the entire team a feeling of helplessness. Please find it. We need Superman to appear. And the guy who's really changed in the phone booth this year is Michael Young.
He has been the constant for this team. Hamilton's had his ups and downs, and an injury. Cruz has had his ups and downs, and he had an injury as well. Michael Young has been the constant.
And he's going to have 100 RBIs before the year's over, with maybe 10 home runs. Many guys with the triple-digit RBIs have driven themselves in 30 and 40 times. Michael, so far this season, has driven in others 77 times, and that's the credit of his ability to hit with men in scoring position and hit the ball in the gaps.
Not only has he played different positions defensively, he's played first base, second base, third base, also DH'd a lot, of course, but he's moved around in the batting order depending on the injuries. Hamilton gets hurt, Young goes to third. Beltre gets hurt, Young goes to cleanup, where he is tonight. So they have needed a lot from him, and they have gotten a lot from him this year. When he got to the big leagues with the Texas Rangers, he was a second baseman, eventually moved to shortstop after Alex Rodriguez went to New York. Then when they got Andrus, they asked him to move to third. And then when they signed Beltre this year, they said, now you're a DH. And it didn't go over very well at the beginning of the season. And most people thought there might be a trade. But sometimes, as you've said often to me this year, sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make.
And this is one of the best trades that the Rangers did not make in the history of their franchise. Michael Young is a very good high ball hitter. He hunts the high ball. He likes the ball in that he can inside out. The pitchers can get him out if they throw him hard stuff away. The most damage he does on a ball that's away is he hits a ground ball between first and second, where there is a hole right now, but there's 2 outs. He won't get an RBI.
And a wild throw by Weaver eludes Trumbo, and taking second is Hamilton.
Mathis goes to the mound right here with Weaver, because he does do so many things well when he's out on the mound, but when he makes a physical error or a mental error, Jared Weaver is very hard on himself. He's off the mound now. He's trying to collect his thoughts. This is the time you have to take that deep breath, turn the page on that errant throw to first, and work on getting Michael Young out with a quality pitch on the outside corner.
Again, pitch designed to go to the outside corner, but you could see Mathis reaching way to his left as Weaver missed his location badly.
That's that idea of his concentration. It's not where it belongs, should be right now. That deep breath has to get him back in the count.
Extreme heat, and Weaver starting on 3 days rest for the first time in his big league career, and he's already been forced to throw 22 pitches so far here in the first inning.
You see, he's confused with the signs. This isn't where he wants to be. Has to make a big pitch down and away here.
This is high.
We mentioned in the pregame that the rest in between starts is a physical rest and also a mental rest. Jared Weaver has said he doesn't like to pitch in the heat. He's combating the heat in his head and that errant throw right now with a 1-0 lead.
And he walks another one, missing badly. 2 walks and a throwing error already this inning for Jared Weaver.
And we need to talk with the pitching coach. Mike Scioscia knows what's going on here. He realizes that he's totally out of sorts in this situation, and Butch is going out right now to say we're looking for it down and away, not inside because Michael Young could hit it, not up and out over the plate, and don't overthrow it because there's no need to do more than you're capable of doing. Now just stay within yourself. You understand there's a new hitter. I always like my coach to go out when a pitcher was talking to himself a little too much, thinking about the past a little too much, to go out and ask him the first thing, who's the hitter right now? And get him into the moment. Let him look at that hitter in the eye. Let him understand that it's a guy who can hit the ball out of any ballpark in the world if you don't make a good pitch. So now it's time to make a good pitch to Nelson Cruz.
Goes off speed, a slow curveball, swing and a miss, strike 1. Cruz hit 2 home runs on Friday night, had 3 more hits last night, had been slumping, hit 7th in the order the last 2 nights, but after he's gotten hot again, now back up to his more customary 5th spot in the lineup. Always a threat. And a liner to second to end the inning. Weaver walks 2, commits a throwing error, but gets out of it in the bottom of the first. Arlington, a 1-0 lead for the Angels over the Rangers in a very eventful top and bottom half of the first inning. Jared Weaver struggling with his command, but got out of it. Over 100 degrees again here in Arlington, as it has been almost every single day for the last 2 months. Alberto Callaspo, the third baseman for the Angels, takes a curveball inside for ball one from Colby Lewis. Callaspo, Eric Ibar, and then Jeff Mathis, the bottom third of the Angel lineup. Right at Cruz, one down. Now, we mentioned the heat. How did the Rangers deal with it on a daily basis? Buster Olney's going to tell you.
Well, Dan, what the Rangers have been doing this year is actually some players are taking IV fluids before the game. That includes 3 of their starting pitchers and both of the starting catchers, Yorvi Torrealba and Mike Napoli. Jamie Reed, who is the head athletic trainer for the Rangers, told me that on an average day, the Rangers administer about 6 to 10 of these bags. It's a mixture of Pedialyte and water, Dan.
And the visiting teams, we talked to the Angels about what preparations, Buster, they do, and they talk more about hydrating as Eric Ibar rips a ball into the right field corner. Don't assume he's stopping at second. In there with a triple. His 6th triple of the season.
Dan, you called that perfectly. As this ball's hit, he's thinking 3 bases out of the box. He puts his head down, and he's going hard the entire time. Cruz picks this ball up and throws a very good relay throw right into Ian Kinsler, who fields it properly on the side, shuffling his feet to get as much as he can throw on a very accurate throw to third. But Ibar just beats it with his speed. Don't be surprised that we get a squeeze here. I like it on the first pitch.
And the Rangers bring the infield in here in the 2nd inning of a ball game. Not something you would think about, with the kind of offense they've got, especially in this ballpark, but they want to cut this run off.
Well, that's because of Jared Weaver being on the mound. I know that Ron Washington believes in his offense, but he also understands excellence, and he's battling excellence tonight in the middle of the diamond. There's Colby Lewis stepping off to see if the runner would break it all from third. They're also thinking squeeze.
Instead, it's a liner into left field, a base hit. And Mathis hitting just a $178. Drives in Ibar with an RBI single, 2-0 Angels. The Angels a run in the first, a run in the second. Again, if they win tonight, they'll be just 1 game back of the Rangers. The triple by Ibar, the single by Mathis, and a 2-run lead. Social looking on as we go back to the top of the Angel lineup. Peter Borges, the batter, as Mathis draws a throw. We talked about the weather with Buster, and I know certainly we want to send our best thoughts to everybody up and down the eastern seaboard who has dealt and will continue to deal with hurricane, now tropical storm Irene. Runner is going, and in time to get him at second. From North Carolina all the way up through New England, and now it's gone even further north than that. You're from Stanford, Connecticut, the public safety director in Stanford, and I know you've been checking in on a frequent basis to see how things are back home.
Dan, it was a near miss. I think our city and the entire Fairfield County was very prepared to protect their citizens. My hat's off to all the public services, but not off to the power company.
Grounded to short to end the inning. The Angels tack on another run and lead 2-0 going to the bottom of the second. Angels up 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the second here in Arlington. Dan Shulman and Bobby Valentine with you on the mound. American League Cy Young Award candidate Jared Weaver. Bobby, mechanically speaking, what makes him so tough?
Well, it's a crossfire action. You see that red line? That's from the center of the pitcher's mound, the center of plate. Jared Weaver is front to the right, and his direction is toward the hitter. You see that the hitter thinks, wow, is he even looking at me? Is he throwing behind me? Where's this ball coming from? It's very hard to stay in there. And when he's efficient on the outside corner, he rolls through right-handed hitters.
Right-handers hit 194 against him this year. Lefties are hitting 216, so it's not like they're thriving or anything, but especially tough on righties. Now here's a righty who knows him well. Mike Napoli, a catcher for a number of years with the Angels. Now a catcher / DH with the Rangers, having a great offensive season. He's got 22 home runs in fewer than 300 at-bats. And you always assume the advantage in this kind of a matchup goes to the catcher who used to catch the pitcher.
Well, he knows what he throws, but he hasn't hit him very often. So I still think it's advantage pitcher if he keeps the ball down. Mike is one of the great high ball hitters, and not only high ball, but bad high ball hitters. He can hit a pitch from his letters up to his nose and hit it out of the ballpark. Very few hitters in baseball can do it. He's one of them.
As you can see, having a great year with the Rangers, hitting for average and hitting for a ton of power. Napoli went from the Angels to Toronto in the Vernon Wells deal, and then just a few days later was shipped from the Blue Jays here to Arlington, with Frank Francisco going the other way. Now here he is trying to haunt his old team. Gets a fastball and smokes one to center field, but right at Borges, one down.
Jared Weaver is really trying to do everything he can, and sometimes even more than he can. He almost falls down after he throws this pitch, trying to get a little extra on the fastball. You really see how nicely Borges reads the ball off the bat in center field. That's a difficult play, line drive right at the center fielder. He just dipped his head a little, saw the angle, made a very easy catch.
Here's Mitch Moreland, the first baseman. And a pop-up back of short. Ibar wants it and takes it. That'll help. Again, not to belabor the point, but Weaver pitching on 3 days rest for the first time in his career, so the quicker he gets through innings, the deeper into the game he could go. And after a long first inning, he's gotten 2 quick outs here in the bottom of the second.
When Mike Butcher went out and talked to him last inning, that was a great coaching moment of the game, even though it was the first inning of the game. We saw that Weaver overthrew 3 pitches, walking Michael Young. When he went out, it wasn't only take your time and take a deep breath, but use your other pitches. He threw him back-to-back changeups, got out of the inning with that changeup, and that will be a big pitch for him the rest of this game.
A strike taken by Yorvit Torrealba, the catcher tonight for the Rangers. Another hot hitter. Texas has 3 or 4 guys on a real tear and a couple who can't seem to get on track. Yet overall, there's still a very potent offensive club. High drive, deep left center. Gone.
He should throw the ball away to right-handed hitters. Here he throws one right down the middle. Back-to-back fastballs, second one tattooed.
Not a lot of places to relax when you face the Texas Rangers.
Very good swing, Dan.
407 feet. The left center. That's the number 8 hitter, Torrealba. Here's the number 9 hitter, David Murphy, who just swung and missed at a changeup.
And you wonder how he ever gets a hit on a ball on the outside part of the plate. Extreme deep in the box, away from the plate. Loves the pitch that he can hit on the inside part of the plate, but he really can't reach the ball away, and a changeup low and away should get him out every at-bat.
Rounded up the middle and on to first in time to end the inning. So the Rangers are on the board. Jared Weaver surrenders a home run to Yorvit Torrealba. 2-1 with the Baseball Tonight update on the way.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball live from Rangers Ballpark in Arlington, and after 2 innings, it's the Angels with a 2-1 lead over the Texas Rangers, getting ready for the top of the 3rd inning with Bobby Valentine and Dan Schulman. Steve Berthume, John Kruk, Barry Larkin outside Rangers Ballpark, looking at the second game of a doubleheader today at Oriole Park in Camden Yards, the Orioles and the Yankees. Here's Ryan Adams, bottom 2. The O's take the early lead against the Yankees of Nova. Derek Jeter not playing in the second game after fouling a pitch off his back foot in the first game. This is a doubleheader today. Here's the big hit. Curtis Granderson, a 3-run shot, his 37th of the year. The game is now tied. Curtis Granderson may be having an MVP year in the American League for the Yankees.
Well, he's making that statement. 37 home runs, helping carry this Yankees team. He went from a guy last year hitting 8th or 9th to hitting 3rd in this middle of this lineup.
And short, so short and quick to the ball, especially how devastating against left-handed pitching this year.
All right, so the Yankees and Orioles in action in Baltimore. So are the Rangers and the Angels. Back to Bobby Valentine and Dan Schulman in ESPN Sunday Night Baseball.
Fellas, thank you. To the top of the 3rd, the Angels up 2-1. And the batter is Howie Kendrick leading off the inning against Colby Lewis. You know, the Yankees lost the first game of that doubleheader to Baltimore today, 2-0. The Tampa Bay Rays roughed up Toronto 12-0 today. David Price struck out 14 in 7 innings. Tampa Bay at the moment is 6 games back of the Yankees for the wild card spot as that pitch grazes Kendrick, and he'll be awarded first base. If the Yankees lose the second game, it's just a 5.5 game spread. There's a month of baseball left, and the Rays and Yankees still have 2 series left with one another.
They have 2 series, 2 very talented teams, but the Rays have pitching, and the Yankees are searching for pitching. Pitching in the last month of the season usually wins, and I'm not counting Tampa Bay out of this race.
I bet you a lot of folks in New York starting to get a little bit nervous right now. The Rays have proven to be a very resilient team the last few years. Strike taken by Bobby Abreu. The Yankees and Rays have series against one another in the second to last week of the season and to wrap up the regular season, just as the Angels and Rangers do, a 3-game series in Anaheim the last 3 days of the regular season.
Dan, I think the LA Angels have seen something on Colby Lewis to get a good jump. Bobby Abreu got a great jump. I think they look at something, and when they see a different weight distribution, they take off. Colby's a little nervous about their ability to run, but I think it's all about the read. I think he gives something away either with weight distribution or possibly the width of his feet, or maybe his front elbow and the positioning that it is when he comes set. I think they could read him pretty well.
A healthy lead for Kendrick at first. 1 ball and 1 strike, the count on Abreu. Kendrick, like so many Angels hitters, is a threat. He's got 12 steals on the season. He's been caught 3 times.
And even though Bobby Abreu had the RBI base hit his first at bat, he handles the bat very well and is a hit and run potential candidate right here.
Abreu with an RBI single his first time up that gave the Angels a 1-0 lead in the top of the first. Jeff Mathis drove in a run on a base hit in the top of the second before Yorvi Torrealba homered for the Rangers in the bottom half. There goes the runner. Throw down, got it.
He had a decent jump, but he got the fastball, which is the quickest pitch to the plate, and the pitch is up. Bobby Abreu wants to swing, doesn't swing. It's a decent jump, but a perfect pitch to throw and a perfect throw to second. Yeah, he's going. He read it. Bobby Abreu knows that he has to swing at that pitch to protect the runner, just couldn't get up in time to do it.
There's a little flare down the left field line that drops in fair. And Abreu is on his way to second base and in there in a slide. Second hit of the night for Bobby Abreu.
We've seen a double made right out of the box, and now we saw a triple made and now a double made because Bobby Abreu knew that that ball was going to carry him off the wall, and he goes hard right from the first get-go. Out of the box, he's going. This is a double. He takes the turn, makes sure that he sees that the ball did carry him off the wall, and gets in the second easily.
So a runner in scoring position for Torrey Hunter. The Angels already in this game have 5 hits, 3 of them for extra bases. Colby Lewis has also walked a batter and hit a batter. Lewis has faced 12 batters, Bobby. He's only retired 5 of them. Yet because 2 Angels have been thrown out trying to steal, it's just a 2-1 game. Didn't miss by much. The count, a ball and a strike, as Torrealba framed it for an extra moment. He really wanted that call.
Kobe's thrown a lot of close pitches that have been called balls, and some of the fans behind home plate are getting a little anxious about these calls.
All right. There's an anxious fan.
That's Nolan Ryan, and has a very good friend who's a little anxious to his right. President George W. Bush, former president, former owner, and managing general partner of the Texas Rangers.
Your former boss.
My former boss, who fired me. And then I voted for him. Think about it.
Swing and a miss, 2-2.
That's one of the best breaking balls that Colby Lewis has thrown all night. Started right at the middle of the plate, broke low and away. Torrey Hunter had a great swing at the first pitch fastball. Not going to get another one. Live.
Swing and a miss, 2 down.
Oh, you know, Colby Lewis really is working hitters with his fastball tonight, knowing that this is an experienced LA Angels team that is sitting on his breaking ball, which is really his best pitch. He's been pitching better lately with his fastball. He's up to 90 miles an hour, but he throws a great breaking ball here that starts at the middle of the plate and then throws a fastball right by him It comes back a little on the outside.
Colby Lewis, his second year back in the majors after spending a couple of years in Japan in 2008, 2009. There's a liner to left field, a base hit for Trumbo. This is going to bring Abreu in. Trumbo is on his way to second base and in there with an RBI double. The fourth extra base hit of the game already for the Angels as they take a 3-1 lead.
Well, there's a very frustrated dugout, frustrated catcher with that first pitch to Trumbo. He wants it low and away, and he just hangs a breaking ball right in the center of the plate to a guy who's a very aggressive hitter. As I mentioned earlier, has only walked 21 times or 22 times the entire season. First base is open, and on the first pitch, he hangs one for an RBI double.
71st RBI of the season for the rookie Trumbo. Now Vernon Wells bounces one foul up the third baseline. The Angels with a run in each of the first 3 innings here tonight. And again, the Rangers 10 days ago were 7 games up in the American League West. But Jared Weaver and the Angels have cut 5 games off that lead in the last week and a half. A win tonight, they get it down to 1. There's another good slider swung on and missed 0-2. That's a pitch he really refined when he was over in Japan for a couple of years. Brought a better slider back with him. Here's how things have changed in the AL West since the Trumbo walk-off home run against the Rangers on August the 18th. It's a race now. And if you look at the schedules of the two teams, the Angels on paper appear to have an easier schedule, but the Rangers have 2 more off days between now and the end of the season than the Angels do. Again, 3 games left between these two teams at the end of the season. The Angels still play the Yankees. The Rangers still play the Red Sox, and they've got 6 games left with Tampa Bay, and the Rays are playing some really good baseball right now. Full count.
Once again, a lot of fastballs thrown to the veteran right-handed hitters of the Angels. You saw that one come in off the plate to Vernon Wells. You have to believe he's going to throw a slider on the outside part of the plate to try to get him.
He did, but Wells pulls it into left field, a base hit. Trumbo around third. He will beat the throw home. It is 4-1 for the Angels. Pitching coach Mike Maddox to the mound.
We waited for the breaking ball, got it on 3-2. Too much of the plate for Colby Lewis. An RBI single for Vernon Wells.
And Nolan Ryan not very happy as he looks on.
To his left was the beautiful Laura Bush, who was thinking that throw was going to get to home plate in time. To her chagrin, another Angel run.
Well, Colby Lewis, until his last start, which was against the Boston Red Sox, had been in a great groove. 6-1 over a 12-start stretch with a very low ERA in the 2.30 range. But he was roughed up by the Red Sox last time. Got the ball elevated a lot. And he has not had as good command here tonight as he is getting roughed up in the early going by the Angels. Here's Callaspo, the third baseman. The Angels with their ace on the mound, and such a good pitching and defense team. You don't want to spot them too much of a lead. Angels swinging the bats over the last week as well as they have swung them at any point this season.
And Vernon was very runner-ish right there. He saw, I think, what they're looking at. He took his lead and had a false start, wanting to go, but didn't go soon enough. Kobe's very concerned with these Angel runners.
And they've thrown out 2 of 3, but I mean that's not going to make the Angels stop running, right?
No, it won't. It won't stop them. They will like to keep the pressure on. And they know that if in fact the concentration's at first base, it's not enough. And see, as he bends that right knee as he goes home, before he lifts his left leg, I'm sure that's what they're looking at. He has kind of a jump start with his back knee, so his front leg will come toward you when he's going to first base, but his back knee will move away from you before he lifts his left leg. Here's his right knee. You see how they bend, the left knee and the right knee bend together as he turns and throws to first. When he goes home, there's a right. This is when he throws to first. They both bend. When he goes home, the right one bends prematurely. And I'm almost sure that's what the Angels are looking at, even though seeing it on tape and talking about it in a meeting and then having your eyes tell your brain that that's what you're looking at and now's the time to go are 2 totally different things, and that's where you're getting some false starts out at first base. But if you just watch his right knee here, it will bend prematurely and then he'll lift his left leg, and that's when you want to go.
Curveball misses high.
And if any time he uses a no step like that pitch was, where he just glides to the plate, you shut down the running game. So that was a thing where he's just really giving up his pitch to the plate with a ridiculous slide step. And here you'll see the right leg bend as he goes to the plate.
So as soon as they see that bend, they know he's going home.
That's it. Yep. As soon as they see that right knee bend prematurely, and it bends independent of the left knee, that means he's going home, and that's your quick start to take off. And in fact, they both bend. You go back or you shut it down because that's his quick step or his turn to first base.
That is the 8th throw to first base by Lewis in this game tonight. Another 25-pitch inning. A lot of pitches on an extremely hot night. Temperature over 100 degrees. Sharply hit, but right at Kinsler. Picks it back up and on to first to end the inning. 2 more for the Angels off Colby Lewis. Will go to the bottom of the 3rd. Top of the order due up for Texas. Kinsler, Andrus, and Josh Hamilton. Welcome back to Arlington with Bobby Valentine. I'm Dan Shulman. This is Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. A 4-1 lead for the Angels over the Rangers. Top of the order for Texas. Ian Kinsler leads it off. Popped up his first time up. He'll be followed by Elvis Andrus and then Josh Hamilton. Kinsler doesn't hit for a great average, but he's got pop. He walks a lot. Has speed, so maybe not a prototypical leadoff hitter, but a dangerous leadoff hitter. Changeup catches the outside corner, Bobby. 1-2.
And that's the first changeup he's thrown effectively to a right-handed hitter after 2 fastballs away, and that means he's going to be locked in very soon.
Breaking ball misses outside.
4 quality pitches in a row, though. First at bat that Jarrett Weaver really seems like he's in total control of his body and his direction.
Change up low, full count. You could see he was unhappy with himself that he missed with that pitch, but as you said before, he can be an emotional guy. He doesn't hide it out there on the mound. When he's unhappy, everybody will know it. Pops him up back of the plate and back out of play. Andrus waiting on deck. Hamilton behind him. The Rangers down 3 in the bottom of the 3rd, but a very explosive offensive team, especially here in this ballpark. Up and in, ball 4. More frustration for Weaver. This is the first time since June 3rd that Weaver has walked more than 2 batters in a game. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Mike's Hard Lemonade. For a refreshing change of taste, make it a Mike's. Bobby, he doesn't walk 3 in a game for almost 3 months, and now he's walked 3 of the first 10 batters he's faced tonight.
And it has something to do with him overusing his fastball, trying to prove to everyone that has plenty. It's only 3 days rest. He can throw the fastball, but what he needs to do is throw his other pitches.
Elvis Andrus is the batter, and this is a guy who has dominated Jarrett Weaver this year. And I don't know if anybody else in baseball can say that, but this season, even with the fly ball out tonight, Andrus is 10 for 15 against Jarrett Weaver. And now Mathis will head to the mound. Weaver really struggling right now. He talked to us yesterday about facing Elvis Andrus.
Guys 1 for 20 off you, you know it, and you know when a guy's 20 for 20 off you, you know it. So Elvis is one of those guys, and you know, I think if I threw a knuckleball up there, he's still get a base hit off of it.
Some guys just have your number, and Elvis Andrus has had Jarrett Weaver's number. Again, especially this year, 10 for 15.
And after starting the inning so perfectly, executing pitches 4 in a row, misses on 2 and 2, and now he's out of sync.
The conspiracy theorists would say, well, it's a 3 days rest thing. He's never done it before. Do you see any evidence that short rest is affecting him here tonight?
Well, no evidence at this time, but you know, it is a mental barrier that you have to get over. Until you've skied that black diamond, that hill, you don't know if you can do it, and that's what he's dealing with right now.
Irvin Santana did a good job last night. 7 strong innings, gave up 4 runs, but on only 4 hits, got the win as the Angels beat the Rangers. But not only is Weaver all over the place with his command, he's right on the edge emotionally right now. You can see after every pitch that isn't executed the way he wants it to be executed, his blood's boiling right now.
Which makes me think he needed more rest in between starts, not necessarily for the physical attributes, but for the mental rest that he might need.
Full count.
Lots been going on with this young man, signing the big contract, seeing his team move up in the standings, having so many press conferences over the last week or so talking about his contract and pitching so well. A shutout through 7 innings his last outing.
And just thought Kinsler would be on the move.
Well, Ron Washington stays aggressive with his offense, even though he's behind in the game. He likes to move runners, and here on 3-2 and no outs, I believe he'll be moving.
He is. And a fly ball lifted to right field and deep. Hunter back. Over his head and off the wall on a bounce. Kinsler now rounding third. Heading home. Here's the throw. Safe at the plate. Andrus into third.
Jared Weaver looking up at the flags there. When the flags are blowing across and in, the ball in right center field blows out, and this ball's hit, and Corey runs across and then realizes he has to go back. It's a misdirected route at this ball that lands on the warning track. The throw might have beat him to the plate, but it was a short up throw that Mathis had to smother to keep in front of him.
Now Hamilton sends a ball to deep center. Gone!
Dan, we mentioned earlier how Josh Hamilton's having trouble with fastballs over the last couple months. And so what does Jared Weaver start him off with? A changeup that's right down there in the middle. He has a good swing when he can get it on time. The changeup got him on time, and that might even allow him to get hot.
Changeup coming in. Fastball going out. 412 feet, straightaway center. Tie game. Andrus with a triple. Hamilton with a homer. Still nobody out. And the batter is Michael Young. Just the 4th time all season that Weaver has given up 4 runs in a game, and we're only in the 3rd inning. Now he can't find the plate, and you can see how frustrated he is.
Indeed. Pitching on 3 days rest. His team gives him a 3-run lead. He comes out and gives up 3 runs to the Rangers in the 3rd.
At the knees, 3-2. No activity in the Angel pen. Weaver on short rest, pitching on 3 days rest for the first time in his big league career. Has given up 2 homers, a triple. He's walked 3, committed a throwing error, and allowed 4 runs in 2+ innings. Out of play.
Well, that's a 3-2 foul ball, but now he needs to execute a 3-2 fastball on the outside corner to Michael Young to get that first out of the inning. If he doesn't get the first out, the phone will ring in the bullpen. and we'll have action, and it's not really the way Mike Scioscia drew this one up.
Slowly hit left side of the infield, and Young is retired. 5-3, finally one down here in the bottom of the third.
And that was a big pitch. 3-2 breaking ball with Cruz on deck. Got his composure, not overthrowing his fastball, going to an off-speed pitch. Mathis needs to be given some credit with the call of the 3-2 breaking ball.
Such a big game in the scope of this race. The Rangers 2 games up on the Angels. The rubber match of this 3-game series. Nelson Cruz, the batter. That's why Mike Scioscia wanted Irvin Santana and Jared Weaver even on short rest in this series. They've had some rookies who have been filling in at the back end of the rotation, but Scioscia wanted his top 3, Herron, Santana, Weaver, to pitch in this series, even if it meant short rest. And Scioscia says, I don't see what the big deal is. It's just one time. It's not going to happen every turn between now and the end of the season. But given the magnitude of this series, the Angels as a group decided this was the way to go. And it paid off last night with Santana getting the win. Chases a breaking ball in the dirt. And Cruz is retired. And again, the struggles he's having tonight may have nothing to do with short rest, but right now he's all over the place, walking batters and falling behind more than he normally does.
Well, it is different than what you've seen the entire season from Jared. So you'd expect that you'd look for the reason for the exception, but he might be able to collect himself here. 6 innings and 4 runs would still be a good outing in this situation under these conditions against this lineup.
Change up for a strike to Mike Napoli, who lifted a fly ball to center his first time up. He hooks the ball into left field. Wells over to cut it off. Napoli on his way to second, and in there with a double.
Well, he executed 2 good changeups to Napoli there. Had him out in front, hit the ball off the end of the bat, and looped it in for a double. I don't think you could be too upset about the way you went after the last 3 hitters. Just have to collect yourself here. Here's the swing on a changeup away, way out in front. Hits it off the end of the bat. Might even break the bat, but keeps it fair. And the great high ball hitter gets a low changeup and deposits it into left field.
Not a very Weaver-like performance here this season. 4 earned runs. 7 men have reached base in just 2 2/3. Here's Mitch Moreland, the first baseman.
Has to remember the plan. Know that Moreland's up there. Know the right-hander's on deck. Understand the situation. Even though it's a 3rd inning, Mitch Moreland can hurt you. Right-hander on deck did, in fact, hurt him the last time up, though.
Pops him up back at 3rd in foul territory, and room for Callaspo to make the catch and finally end the inning. The Rangers, though, get 3 off Jared Weaver, 2 of them on a rocket of a home run off the bat of Josh Hamilton, and we're tied at 4. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. With Bobby Valentine, Buster Olney, Pedro Gomez, the Baseball Tonight gang here as well. I'm Dan Schulman. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN from Rangers Ballpark in Arlington, where all kinds of activity and excitement in the first 3 innings. It's a 4-4 tie in this ultra-important game in the American League West race. The Rangers trying to hold off the Angels, who are making a run at them. Eric Ibar threatens to bunt, ends up taking a strike. Colby Lewis has to feel pretty good. He was down 3 runs when he walked off the mound. His teammates have tied it up. Bunted fair. Gotta hurry. Got him.
That's an excellent bunt and an excellent defensive play. There's one chance of throwing him out, and that's with a bare hand and a 360 move by Torrealba, and he makes it. It's right off the end of the bat. The ball's bunted up the third base line. You have to come around this ball barehanded, come up and square your foot and make a solid throw. Bang, bang at first. Well executed by everyone around.
Jeff Mathis is the batter. I'll tell you, Torrealba's had a heck of a night so far. He's hit a home run. He's thrown out 2 runners trying to steal. Then he just made a great play to get Ibar. Foul ball. All for naught. Foul ball.
And he's getting Colby Lewis to throw more breaking balls now. He's back in the game. He got beat on fastballs. Of course, Vernon Wells hit the 3-2 breaking ball. But Colby Lewis lives with the breaking ball. And he has a feel of it. He can throw it so it breaks quickly and away from the right-handed hitter. And then he has one that's a little slower that breaks down and away. He controls the strike zone with it and can throw it any time in the count. Fastball should be a waste pitch at this time.
A little bit high with that fastball. 4 runs on 7 hits and an error for the Angels. 4 runs, 4 hits. No errors for the Rangers. There have been a total of 8 extra base hits in this game already. Mathis, one of 3 catchers that the Angels are carrying right now. They've only got 11 pitchers on the roster. Texas has 13 at the moment. But the Angels are carrying 3 catchers: Mathis, Bobby Wilson, and Hank Conger.
Just drop this breaking ball right on the plate, he said.
Left field and deep. And caught by Murphy on the track.
Another mistake that's hit really hard, Dan. Two count. Catcher wants it low. Ball hung right in the middle of the plate. Hit hard by Mathis, and Murph gets a good jump, great route, and does everything he can to bring that one in.
Two down in the inning, and here's Peter Borges, 0 for 2. We have not had a 3-up, 3-down inning yet in this game. Lewis looking for one here. Borges has 13 bunt hits on the season using his speed.
And even with 2 outs, the corners are in, thinking that in trying to take the bunt away. With a guy like Borges, a bunt with 2 outs and you're on first is just like hitting a double with 2 outs, because his speed could get him to second within 1 or even 2 pitches. Now that everyone's confirmed that you can get a jump on Colby Lewis, at least they're looking at the right thing, even though the jumps haven't been exceptional. I think that Peter just wants to get on any way he can.
1-2. They had over 48,000 people here last night for the second game of this series. Not quite that many, but a very big crowd again here tonight to wrap up this series. These two teams battling it out for the American League West Division title. And Borges fouling off some pretty good pitches.
But they're fastballs, and Borges is a good young player, but he's not a good breaking ball hitter. And Kobe's insisting on throwing these hitters fastballs after fastballs, and eventually he's going to get hurt even more than he's been so far if he continues.
Young with room, and the inning is over. 3 up, 3 down go the Angels. We're tied at 4. When we come back, a conversation with Mike Butcher, the pitching coach for the Angels. Bottom of the 4th between the Angels and Rangers here in Arlington. Pedro Gomez is with Angel pitching coach Mike Butcher.
Mike, we've seen Jared struggle a little bit here the first 3 innings. How much of it is the short rest?
No, I think he's all right, actually. I think he's just picking at the zone a little bit tonight, right now, and got to get him a little bit more aggressive in the zone, get him in the strike zone earlier, and start putting pitches together. But he's fine out there. He feels good.
This is so unusual to see him like this. I mean, you've seen him all season long. Why is this happening?
I think sometimes it just happens, you know. I mean, he's been pitching great first the whole year. You know, I expect him to go out there and pitch good, you know. So hopefully he bounces back right here this inning, puts up a nice 0 for us.
All right, Mike. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Dan.
Pedro, thank you. It has not been the usual kind of performance that we've all come to expect from Jared Weaver this season. Torre Alba leads off the bottom of the 4th for the Rangers. Has never started on 3 days rest, has rarely pitched in heat like this, over 100 degrees at game time, has had to throw a lot of pitches. At times has been his own worst enemy with the 3 walks and the throwing error. Torre Alba touched him up for a home run back in the 2nd inning. Good breaking ball, 1-2.
Much like last inning, Danny's come out and executed the first pitches of the inning very well. You know, he's not a power pitcher. He doesn't have to throw the ball 92 miles an hour, but he needs to locate. And with his crossfire action to right-handed hitters, he needs to locate away.
He hung that breaking ball. Out in right center, Borges makes the catch, 1 down.
When he tries to do too much, Dan, with the ball, this is the proverbial overthrowing, where he's throwing up, and up, not delivering the ball where he wants to throw it on 3-2 and not delivering it on 3-2 again. His bread and butter is to throw that ball and throw it from the third base side of the rubber to the first base side of home plate. Except for in this situation, pitch away to Murphy.
And he starts him with a pitch over the outside part of the plate for a called strike. Murphy grounding out his first time up.
He hit it right off the end of the bat on a pitch that the entire pitch was on the outside corner.
Murphy's hot, so Ron Washington is riding the hot hand, starting him in left field, moving Josh Hamilton to center. You can also play Hamilton in left and Andy Chavez in center. Pulls a ground ball to first. Weaver covering, 2 down. Yeah, maybe both pitchers are starting to settle into a bit of a groove now as it drops down to 100 degrees. What's it like? You managed in this town for many years. What's it like?
Well, you know what's amazing? In 1986, I got short pants for the guys to wear during practice, and I was looked at like I had 2 heads. How could you put the guys in T-shirts and short pants? How sacrilegious is that they're not out in full uniforms? And I just thought it was a little better idea when it's 110 degrees and you come out and work out, that you could be in comfortable shorts and T-shirts. In today's world, everyone wears shorts, and if you let the heat get to your head and you let it get to your body where you're dehydrated, you can really have trouble.
And both teams obviously take precautions, have over the weekend. We talked with both teams about their routines. And the Angels went through a full batting practice on the first day on Friday. Wanted to get their players accustomed to the surroundings. But today they didn't go outside at all. Didn't take BP at all. And some teams will hit inside more. Some teams will shorten their time out on the field. Both teams are hydrating as much as they can. And it's always been asked, is it a disadvantage for Texas because they have to play in this heat all summer, or is it an advantage for Texas because they get used to the heat and the visiting teams don't? Kinsler with a high fly ball to left field, and the inning is over as Weaver settles in and gets the Rangers 3 up, 3 down. A conversation with Ron Washington, the manager of Texas, when we come back. The MLB Fan Cave at MLBFancave.com. Many of baseball's biggest stars have stopped by the cave. Check out all the videos and see who will visit the cave next. Follow at MLB Fan Cave on Twitter and like the MLB Fan Cave page on Facebook. Dan Shulman to Bobby Valentine. Top of the 5th inning. 4-4 the Angels and Rangers. And a 1-1 count on Howie Kendrick, who has doubled and scored and then been hit by a pitch and thrown out trying to steal. The Angels got 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third. Were set down in order in the fourth. After Kendrick, Bobby Abreu, and then Torrey Hunter. It's an Angel team with a real mix of true veterans and then a lot of young players just getting started. As Kendrick lines the ball deep right center field, carrying and all the way out of here. An opposite field home run for Kendrick, and the Angels go back on top.
And they call the gaps the power alleys, Dan. But here in Texas, when the flags are blowing in and across, the ball is blowing out to the alleys. And this breeze that you see here just jet propels the ball in the gap. And Howie Kendrick there takes advantage of it, and advantage of a hanging slider by Kobe Lewis.
How about Kendrick, not known as a real power hitter, known as a guy who really can square the ball up, make a lot of good contact, but he has now homered, Bobby, in 5 of his last 6 games.
Yeah, when you're feeling good, you can hit anything, and you hit it where it's pitched in a very easy way. The problem is players never know what they're doing when they're going good.
Otherwise, they keep doing it.
Otherwise, they keep doing exactly. And when they lose the feeling, then they go on the mission of searching for that feeling to try to get it back. Right now, Howie's got it, and he's not searching for a thing other than a nice drink of water.
2 balls and a strike now, the count on Abreu. Activity in the Rangers pen. Right-hander Yoshinori Tateyama is up. Abreu has an RBI single. He's also doubled and scored. Fastball well located outside corner. The count 2-2. The theory, by the way, getting back to what Bobby was saying, when the flags are blowing in, when the wind is blowing in, the theory is the wind hits the grandstand and shoots the wind back out. And so especially if you keep the ball kind of low, if you don't get the ball up too high, if you hit a line drive, it'll shoot right out, right?
As that wind comes in, it collects in this horseshoe and then propels the ball out into the gaps. It was that way at the old stadium, and it's that way here in the new stadium.
Swing and a miss, Abreu gone. Between innings, Buster Olney with Ron Washington.
Ron Washington, what are you seeing in your guys at bats against Jared Weaver?
Well, we're trying to make him get the ball over the plate and in the strike zone. You know, he relies a lot on deception and expanding the strike zone. He can also throw the ball in the strike zone, but we got to make sure we make him throw the ball in the strike zone.
How much does Colby Lewis have left as we enter the top of the 5th inning?
Well, we're in the top of the 5th right now, and I think he's going to let us know. You know, I don't think we're going to hang around too long, but Kobe will let us know what he got left.
Ron, thanks. Dan, back to you.
Thank you.
Hi, Buster. Thank you. Always fun to sit in Ron Washington's office and talk baseball. The man just eats, sleeps, and breathes baseball. Old school guy, loves talking the game.
He loves teaching the game.
Yeah.
He loves being around the players, and the players really respond to his aggressiveness and his positiveness. And he's also one of these guys, as he told us before the game, when he sees something happen, he calls it to the players' attention. He wants them to know that he's watching, and he knows when they do well, and he also recognizes when they do something incorrect.
Bouncer down to third. 2 down. You know, as we walked into Washington's office, up on the television, he had coverage of Irene going on, and brought back a lot of memories for him. Ron Washington lives in New Orleans, lost his home in Hurricane Katrina, spent a couple of years living in an apartment in a suburb of New Orleans before he was able to rebuild his home, and lives on the same plot of land that he used to live on. But it took him a couple of years Some of his former players with the Oakland A's donated some money to help him. This is back when he was coaching, and eventually he rebuilt. But it hit him pretty close to home watching coverage of Irene today.
And there have been many people who were evacuated. Many people were asked to stand by and be prepared. And all of those people who were prepared for Irene on the East Coast, job well done.
And again, our thoughts go to everybody on the eastern seaboard as they dealt with the hurricane, now a tropical storm from North Carolina up through New England today. In a baseball sense, Irene wreaked havoc with Major League Baseball as well. Postponements involving the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Orioles, Florida, Philly, Atlanta, the Mets. So some games that some were made up, some were not made up. You've got some double headers coming on mutual off days for various teams. Giants and Jets rescheduled. Also Arthur Ashe Kids Day in New York City canceled. The tournament will start as scheduled tomorrow on ESPN. ESPN2, I should say. Some of the contending teams will really have to get creative with their pitching with these day-night makeup doubleheaders on what had been off days.
What they're trying to do is push the season into September so they can have an expanded roster.
Right. And the rosters will expand on Thursday, so a lot more flexibility for all these teams a few days from now. Swing and a miss, inning over. But another run for the Angels. Howie Kendrick takes Colby Lewis deep. And the Angels are back on top. Coverage of Major League Baseball continues on ESPN. First tomorrow night at 7 Eastern. The Phillies are in Cincinnati to take on the Reds. And then Wednesday night it'll be the Yankees and the Red Sox from Fenway Park. Both games also available online at ESPN3.com. The Yankees, by the way, have roared out to an 8-3 lead over Baltimore in the second game of the doubleheader. If they go on to win that game, they'll be 2 back of the Red Sox and 6.5 ahead of Tampa Bay. The Rays winning earlier today 12-0 in Toronto behind David Price. One hopper out to second. Kendrick on to first, and Andrews is retired for out number 1. All of a sudden, 5 in a row set down by Jared Weaver. But he did not get Josh Hamilton the last time that he faced him, that's for sure.
Josh is an extremely strong athlete who's searching for his swing. He hasn't hit fastballs for the last 6 weeks on the button. Jared started him off with a changeup at 83 miles an hour, out over the plate, and let's see if it got him going.
It was Hamilton's first home run in 33 career at-bats against Weaver. You know, Hamilton's numbers obviously pale in comparison to his numbers of a year ago when he won the MVP. But he's hitting almost 300. And he's had some injuries this year. He's got fewer than 400 at-bats.
But you see, that's what he's been doing on fastballs for the last 2 months. And that's what's frustrated Ron Washington and their entire staff, including hitting coach Scotty Kulba, that he just isn't getting to the fastball. First pitch, he got in on his hands. He fouled it into over the dugout in foul territory. And here, he just never gets rotated, never gets off his back foot in time to hit this ball the way you have to hit it. Off the end of the bat, popped up to left field. They need more. They got the 2-run homer, but they need more out of Big Josh.
Here's Michael Young. From what you see and what you've heard with Hamilton, is it more mechanical or is it more mental right now?
I think it's mechanical. I think that his fastball swing is kind of rushed, that he doesn't get to the launching point where he wants to be to fire, that he's starting to get there and then he's pushing his hands and his bat at the ball and always hitting that ball way out in front or really too deep in the zone.
Young off the end of the bat, fly ball to left, inning over. Weaver has settled down. He's retired 7 in a row and needed only 7 pitches to get through the bottom of the 5th.
Steve Berthiaume with the Baseball Tonight crew outside Rangers Ballpark in Arlington, where right now our score is the Angels 5, the Rangers 4, heading to the top of the 6th inning. What a game, John Kruk and Barry Larkin, the New York Yankees are having tonight in the second game of a doubleheader in Baltimore. In the 6th inning, Robbie Cano hits his 23rd. Next up, Nick Swisher hits his 20th. Andrew Jones follows with his 11th. They go back to back to back.
You know, in the first game, they got shut out 2-0. You figure the Sticks were going to wake up, and they certainly did. They didn't miss many pitches that were up and out the zone. And Curtis Granderson has just been on absolute fire, his second home run of this game.
He's now got 38 on the year. The Yankees are all over the Orioles, 8-3, bottom 8. after losing the first game of that doubleheader today. Is there incentive, John Kruk, for either the Yankees or the Red Sox to avoid these Rangers here in the postseason?
There is, because of their power. And the Texas Rangers can outslug you, and especially the pitching staffs that the Red Sox and Yankees now have on display with some injuries. Yeah, the Rangers are going to be a tough out if anyone has to play them.
But you know what? Okay, so you don't play them. Say you play Detroit Tigers.
That's another tough
that's
out.
pitching and offense. There's some very good teams in Major League Baseball this year.
Back upstairs to Bob Valentine and Dan Shulman.
Steve, guys, thank you very much. Vernon Wells pops up for the first out of the sixth inning. Here's where it stands in the American League West. Texas 2 games up on the Angels. They were 7 games up 10 days ago, and the Angels are leading right now 5-4. They can leave town just a game back with a month to go, and a 3-game series between these two teams right at the end of the regular season in Anaheim. Here's Alberto Callaspo. Well, the Yankees are fun. They get shut out, then hit 3 home runs in a row, hit 3 grand slams in a game just a few days ago.
They're funny, but they're also very good offensively. And if they get the pitching together, and I don't really see how they could get that starting pitching to the form that they want it to be. But with that offense, with their bullpen, they're definitely a team to be reckoned with.
Callaspo, a fly ball and a ground out. Takes it high, 3-1. Colby Lewis nearing 100 pitches as he works into the 6th inning. It's a fastball by Callaspo, 3-2. Jim Wolf is the home plate umpire tonight, regarded as one of the best umpires in baseball, and also the brother of Milwaukee pitcher Randy Wolf. Fly ball to center, 2 down. Well, the Little League World Series wrapped up today. Brent Musburger had the call on ABC.
California wins it. Prado's walk-off single, and Huntington Beach, California captures the Little League World Series championship.
And a guy who used to play for that same Little League, Ocean View Little League in Huntington Beach, California, Hank Conger of the Los Angeles Angels, who along with about half of his team was absolutely captivated watching the finish of the championship game of the Angels dugout before the game. Conger and his team got within 1 game of Williamsport back in 2000. He played for the very same team that just won the Little League World Series today. It's a foul ball. As the story goes, Conger hit 33 home runs in 38 games back in 2000 for Huntington Beach, but he didn't accomplish what these young men did today. Congratulations as California defeats Japan 2-1 to win the Little League World Series. The 7th Little League World Series title for a team from the state of California. Our producer, who's from California, points out to me. Here's Eric Ibar trying to stay alive. The count remains 0-2. It was funny walking into both major league clubhouses. All kinds of major league games going on all around.
No games on,
but none of them on the
one.
TVs. Yeah. Both teams watching the Little League World Series.
It's special.
There's a California guy. And we've been told that the Angels have invited the champs to come out to a game at some point later on this season. And how much fun is that going to be for those young men?
And Ibar has really fouled off some very good pitches. They're trying to throw him down and in with breaking balls. They're executing the pitches perfectly, and he's fouling them off. Let's see if they go up and away here.
Missed with a backdoor breaking ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Let's go down to Pedro Gomez.
Hisanori Takahashi handed Dan Herron a $100 bill right when that game ended. They had a bet. However, it was the same 100 that Herron lost to Takahashi after the Women's World Cup.
So it all evens out. Nice spinning play. Andrews with a good play to get Ibar. Angels go in order. 5-4 they lead going to the bottom of the 6th.
Unbearable. Unrelenting. Texas heat refuses to retreat. Even the thermometers need a break. Downright hot and uncomfortable. Some say the hottest summer on record, with little relief in sight. Sure, it's miserable for the locals, but how do you think the visitors feel?
For the 54th time in the last 59 days, the temperature at some point reached 100 degrees here in Texas. It was a high of 109 today, and a game temperature at or over 100 degrees for the 24th different home game this year for the Texas Rangers, twice as many as the last 4 years put together. Sometimes all you can do, Bobby, you just give in, you have a snooze, and you hope it's cooler when you wake up. Nelson Cruz is the batter. Jared Weaver has settled down. He's retired 7 in a row after really struggling for the first 3 innings. Walked a couple, committed a throwing error in the first, gave up a home run in the second, gave up a walk, triple, and a home run in the third. Got the last out of that inning, and then 6 more outs in succession since. Down the right field line. Hunter can't make the catch. And Cruz is into second base. Wondering if Cruz has something wrong with him, the way that he went between first and second, because that ball was loose and Hunter was down, and Cruz may have pulled something.
If this guy could ever stay healthy and get those hamstrings where he could play 155 games, he could put up numbers of an MVP. But here's Torrey Hunter having this ball go off of his glove as he makes a diving try. It's really 3 bases if, in fact, Cruz doesn't come up lane, but he's watching, he's wishing this down because he was going slow and then tried to pick it up. That's when your leg misfires. So he's striding down the first. He sees that ball drop. He's saying, please drop, please drop. It does. He extends his leg to touch the base, and bang, there goes the hamstring. And there goes a lot of the offense that the Rangers need going forward this last month. He's wishing it down, and then he reaches out. Oh, no. Why did I do that? He knew it as soon as he pulled it. He slowed down to protect it from getting worse. But that would be a big loss right now. The way the Rangers aren't swinging the bats, Nelson Cruz would be a big loss at this time of the year.
Craig Gentry, the pinch runner. Lead-off double. Down a run in the bottom of the 6th. Mike Napoli is the batter. The Rangers, if all goes well, right on the verge of getting Adrian Beltre back. From his hamstring injury, now may have lost Nelson Cruz again. 5 hits for Texas tonight off Weaver, all of them for extra bases, including a double by Napoli his last time up.
You know, a lot was made about no batting practice on the field today, guys inside in the cage. That happens often here in Texas, and managers try to be wise about not coming out in the heat, but they have to be also wise to get the guys out before the game to loosen their legs up so that things like that don't happen. I don't think that's the reason for this pulled muscle, but you have to be aware that guys have to stay in the playing mode, and part of the proper playing mode is getting into the doing the proper preparation before the game.
Cruz, a 28 homer, 84 RBI man for the Rangers. It would be a big loss. Inside, 3 balls and a strike on Napoli. There's Beltre, who's been out almost 2 months now with a hamstring injury. He had a setback during his rehabilitation, which cost him a few more weeks, itching to get back on the field. Curveball low for ball 4. Down to Buster Olney with more.
Guys, if all goes well, Beltre will be back with the Rangers as soon as Thursday. And when he does come back, he is going to be under strict warnings from Ron Washington to not do what we just saw Nelson Cruz do, which is to extend himself on the bases. Washington thinks that the hamstring is not going to be an issue any other part on the field for Beltre other than running the bases. And as you guys know, Beltre has a reputation of being one of the hardest playing players in all of baseball. And as Ron Washington said, we will have to monitor this situation, because Beltre won't monitor the situation.
Well, I think, go ahead, Bobby.
Sorry, Dan. I was just saying, if Cruz ran hard out of the box there, I think he would have less chance of pulling his muscle, because he wasn't running hard and he was wishing that ball down and then tried to put it on once the ball fell is the reason that the muscle pulled. Now, Adrian's going to come out. He's going to get his playing speed up, but I don't like the idea of going half speed, because when the game asks you to turn it up, you need to be able to turn it up.
Here's Mitch Moreland. The Rangers threatening. Down a run in the bottom of the 6th, would have 2 men on with nobody out against Weaver. Moreland tonight is 0 for 2.
Well, that was a very good swing at a fastball, and this young man's a very good fastball hitter, not a very good breaking ball hitter. And in this situation, I think Weaver has to go back to that changeup that he threw Josh Hamilton that wound up being a 2-run homer. But this isn't Josh Hamilton. This is Mitch Moreland. Changeup works for a ground ball to second.
He got his command in gear. He has gotten his emotions in check. Right-hander Bobby Cassava, a rookie, is up in the Angel pen. Made 17 appearances for the Angels and done some good work for them. An ERA of 2.77. Left side and back out of play. Sometimes you can dominate the kind of season that Weaver's had. He's allowed 0 or 1 run in 17 of his 27 starts. But sometimes the good ones, grinding it out is what gets them that W. And that's what Weaver's trying to do here tonight.
Approaching 100 pitches. This will be his 97th pitch. Needs to get out of this inning. If he does, job well done.
A full count now on Moreland. Any chance you'd start him here? Start the runners?
I don't think so. Not with the young hitter at the plate and a strikeout pitcher on the mound.
They don't go, and it is a swing and a miss as Weaver gets Moreland for out number 1.
And he finally went to that changeup, got Moreland way out in front. This is after a fastball inside. He comes back with an excellent changeup. 78 miles an hour. That's most mere mortals do the same thing that Mitch Moreland did right there. You're out in front, you're swinging and missing, and you're walking back to the bench.
A big out for Weaver. Now he faces Torrealba, who homered off him back in the 2nd and hit a fly ball to center in the 4th. Breaking ball down and away for ball 1.
Here's a situation with Gentry at 2nd, and Howie Kendrick was breaking to the bag thinking about picking him off. Jarrett Weaver didn't see it, and he was caught in no man's land out there. Luckily there wasn't a ground ball hit. Gentry has good speed.
Could be 2. And it is to end the inning. What a job by Weaver to get out of trouble in the bottom of the 6th, and the Angels still have the lead. Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by Grainger, with over 900,000 products for the ones who get it done, and Verizon 4G LTE, built so you can rule the air. Dan Shulman and Bobby Valentine, Pedro Gomez, Buster Olney, also Steve Berthew, Barry Larkin, John Kruk with Baseball Tonight, all here at Rangers Ballpark at Arlington, where the Angels are clinging to a 5-4 lead as we go to the 7th inning, and Ron Washington goes to his pen for veteran left-hander Darren Oliver. Colby Lewis goes 6 innings, gives up 5 runs tonight, including the home run to Howie Kendrick. Oliver, not your typical left-handed specialist who comes in just for a batter or two to get out a left-handed batter. He'll go an inning, he'll go more, he'll face righties and lefties alike.
Yeah, he has a good cut fastball that plays havoc with right-handed hitters. As the breaking ball, he throws down and in, as he did right there when he takes a little off. Speeds him up with the cutter in on his hands, takes a little off and gets him out in front of the breaking ball, and then he'll throw a fastball that'll run up and away and gets a lot of pop-ups, swings and misses, and foul balls on that.
Mathis chases and is retired. 2-3 on the putout. Changes all across the outfield right now for Texas. Josh Hamilton has moved from center to left. Craig Jenner, who came on as a pinch runner for Nelson Cruz, stays in the game in center field. David Murphy, who was in left, goes to right field. And Nelson Cruz has been diagnosed with a strained left hamstring, as we can see from the way he pulled up between first and second, and this has been a chronic problem for Cruz. Here's Borges, 0 for 3.
Darren Oliver is pitching for the Texas Rangers, whose president and owner is Nolan Ryan. Darren's father, Bob Oliver, played with Nolan Ryan for the old California Angels. Bob was a power-hitting, right-handed hitting first baseman.
Was there a young center fielder named Bobby Valentine on that team?
Well, I was a young shortstop. I played center field a few games also. Absolutely.
But I saw some video this morning of you catching a fly ball in center field, didn't I?
Happened to be in Nolan Ryan's first no-hitter back in 1973. I did play center field.
Was it the last out? You caught the ball for the last out?
I caught the ball for the last out. Matter of fact, I made a couple pretty good plays in that game. But interestingly enough, I was the shortstop on that team. Played center field that game for the first time. Bobby Winkles, who was the manager, said, "Hey, let's not change the lineup, Eddie." Nolan just threw a no-hitter. We broke our losing streak. I played another couple games in center field, and the third one out there, I broke my leg running into the center field wall. I think that's me right there.
That's you right there in Kansas City.
That's in Kansas City. Nolan Ryan's first no-hitter. I believe it was like May 15th. There it is, 1973.
Nice catch at third by Young. Borges retired 2 down. You also managed Nolan Ryan in his 6th and 7th no-hitters, right?
As a matter of fact, and his 5,000 strikeout, his 300th win. Yeah, I was with Nolan in uniform many a day, and there's no finer competitor who's ever lived. Oh, that was a young Bobby V. That's Ricky Henderson striking out for 5,000 strikeout. Fouled off the 3-2 pitch with everybody in the place snapping a flashlight. I don't know how he fouled that off. Then he won his 300th with Brad Arnsberg coming in to save his 300th win.
Pretty amazing career. Well, one of the most out-of-reach baseball records is Nolan Ryan's strikeout record, without question. Howie Kendrick with a base hit into left center, and he'll be content with a 2-out single. Now, I don't want numbers.
Yeah.
But you manage Nolan Ryan. Who's older?
He's older.
He's older. You managed a guy. You managed a man who was an active player who was older. I mean, that doesn't happen every day.
Not every day. The great Tom Grieve, whose seat I'm sitting in right here, was a general manager of the Texas Rangers when I was 35 years old. Tom was 37. He gave me an opportunity to manage at the age of 35. And there's no finer baseball guy or finer person than Tom Grieve. I thank him for that. And that's why Nolan was older than me. Tom Paciorek was older than me. Charlie Huff was older than me. I had a bunch of guys who played on the team who were older than I was when I was managing.
Well, to give you an idea about how incredible Nolan Ryan was, his first no-hitter and his last no-hitter were 18 years apart. It's incredible.
It's incredible. And think about this. I played for a game in '74 where he threw 257 pitches in 12 2/3 innings.
Got the hook in the 13th, huh? Just hit a wall?
Think about that.
Baseball's all-time record holder in strikeouts and no-hitters. And could probably get out there and throw about 85 right now, don't you think, without a warm-up?
Without a doubt. He could throw 85 right now in his loafers without a warm-up. And people would not believe it, but he could, because 5,714 strikeouts later, he could still bring it because he's Big Tex. Just ask Robin Ventura.
Walked past a picture of that incident on our way into Ron Washington's office with Nolan Ryan pummeling Robin Ventura when Ventura decided to go to the mound.
Robin says the biggest mistake he ever made in his life, and he knew it a second after he took a step out of the box. His beautiful wife Ruth is a couple seats away from Nolan, always by his side, and she could hit and pitch also. They say behind every great man there's Laura Bush. To Nolan's left and 2 away is the beautiful Ruth Ryan. What a foursome.
Hoping their Rangers can get back in this game. They're 2 games up in the division, but a run down here in the 7th to the team that's chasing them in the Angels. There it is, up to the minute right now. The Angels have cut 5 games off the Rangers' lead in the last 10 days. The Rangers won the opening game of this series. The Angels won last night. The Angels have won 7 of their last 8. One-two to Abreu. Into left center field, and a running catch by Hamilton. The inning is over. 7th inning stretch in Arlington. 1-run lead for the Angels. On a Wednesday night, the game of baseball lost one of its most popular figures. A champion, a Cy Young Award winner, a player, a coach, an executive, a broadcaster. Mike Flanagan passing away at the age of 59. Our sympathies go out to the Flanagan family and to the Orioles family on their loss. For more on one of the great left-handers we've seen down to Buster Olney.
Dan, I covered Mike Flanagan when he was a pitching coach with the Orioles. He was the funniest person I ever covered in baseball. He was the smartest person I ever covered in baseball, and he had such a connection in Baltimore. He was part of that legacy with Earl Weaver and with Cal Ripken Sr., what was known as the Oriole Way. And that's why when Memorial Stadium closed, Johnny Oates, the manager of the Orioles at that time, chose Mike Flanagan to get the last outs of any Orioles pitcher. As he walked off the mound, he wiped tears from his eyes. Talked to people in the Orioles organization this week, and they are devastated by the loss of Mike Flanagan. Dan?
Here he is in the final outs, the ones you just referenced, Buster, at Old Memorial Stadium. Mike Flanagan, his number 46 and his nickname Flanny, will grace Oriole uniforms for the rest of this season. David Murphy leads off the bottom of the seventh with a double, and the tying run is in scoring position for the Rangers.
I could see the frustration there, knowing that he made a mistake and the ball wound up with the ball boy down there, but you want to keep the ball away from Murph. You don't want to give him a chance of pulling the ball, and this one, I think there's 2 for 1 there.
Yeah, you're right. A ball fell out of the stands. And
pick up one of them.
I think he got the right one. Yep. The one that was in play didn't hit anybody. It just hit the stool down there. Trumbo raced out and got it. Weaver's 6th hit allowed. All of them have been for extra bases, and he's come back out here in the heat, Bobby. Just over 100 pitches on short rest, pitching on 3 days rest for the first time in his career. He's back out for the 7th inning to try to hang on to this 1-run lead.
And I think it's going to take the Angel bullpen to go through the middle of this lineup and preserve this win.
Kinsler lines one into center, a base hit. Murphy coming home. The throw bounces high off the mound, and the Rangers have tied it.
Left that ball in the middle of the plate instead of getting it away from Kinsler. He drove it right back up the middle, thinking about going to right field to move the runner over instead of moving over to third. He advanced them home for a tie game.
Now Elvis Andrus. The bunt will stay fair.
We saw a lot of Little League World Series, and we talk about bunting, and you always want to bunt the ball on the top of the ball. This time they bunted on the bottom of the wall, got backspin, chalked up in the grass, and stayed fair. And here's Mike Scioscia saying, thanks for the first 6.
Left-hander Scott Downs will come in for the Angels. Weaver out of this game, and Texas has tied it. A tough night for Jared Weaver. He leaves in a tie, 5-5 in the bottom of the 7th. Ian Kinsler singled in the tying run, and then Elvis Andrus, Bobby, on a bunt ended Jared Weaver's night.
Yeah, there was a bunt that was popped up. He hit the bottom of the ball went straight up. As it goes, as the bat hits the bottom of the ball goes up. But it has backspin, so when it hits the grass, it chalks up and stops immediately. It doesn't roll foul, and now we have a first and second situation. With Josh Hamilton hitting against a very tough left-hander on the mound. Ron Washington likes the bunt. It's a tie game. Josh Hamilton's his MVP from last year. You would not think that he's bunting in this situation.
1 for 2. The one a home run. He's also walked. Swinging away, a base hit into right field. Kinsler getting the wave. Safe at the plate, and the Rangers have the lead. In this inning, Bobby, 4 Texas batters have batted. Each of them has swung at the first pitch. This has been a 4-pitch inning, 4 hits, 2 runs.
Happened very quickly. Kinsler gets a good turn, a good slide at home, even though Torrey Hunter makes a good, strong throw to home. And this is aggressive Ranger baseball. Work the starter hard and then attack them late.
Now Scott Downs will intentionally walk Michael Young to get to Craig Gentry. Remember, Gentry came on after the injury suffered by Nelson Cruz, the hamstring injury a couple of innings ago. Downs has been one of the best left-handed relievers in baseball this year. Look at these numbers. And especially how tough he has been on lefties, but Hamilton didn't much care. Now Mike Scioscia's on his way back out to the mound. Right-hander Bobby Cassavo will enter the game. The Rangers lead, and they're looking for more. Series continues. The Rangers just 2 up on the Angels. The Angels just 1 back in the loss column right now, but Texas has scored 2 runs here in the bottom of the 7th to take a 6-5 lead, and they've got the bases loaded with nobody out. So a huge turnaround here this inning as Jared Weaver gets knocked out of the game. A 6-5 lead now for Texas in a game that has been back and forth all night long. Such a big game. The Angels will either lead Bobby 1 game back or 3 games back. Here's right-hander Bobby Cassava in a big spot. You talk about a big spot for a young guy. Playing the team you're chasing. 1-run game. Nobody out. Hostile territory here on the road. And surrounded by enemy base runners. Andy Chavez is going to pinch hit for Craig Gentry, who came on after the injury to Nelson Cruz. Chavez himself just back from injury. Infield in for the Angels. And a strike.
It's interesting that Mike Scioscia chose the matchup of Chavez over Gentry. Gentry being the right-handed hitter. Downs having the good stuff that could get the ground ball. Andy Chavez, a more experienced guy who could put the bat on the ball.
And does up the middle into center field. 2 runs will score. Borges overruns the ball, and the runners advance.
Well, we talked about Borges running down the fly ball. Here running up on the ground ball. Has the ball bounce up and hit the heel of his glove. Not sure he's going to have a play on Hamilton anyway, but he charges it really hard. He just doesn't center it in the glove.
It's a base hit and 2 RBIs for Chavez. The error on Borges allows the runners to advance to second and third. That forces the infield in again with Napoli the batter. It's already a 4-run inning for Texas with 2 men on and nobody out. And Jared Weaver will wind up surrendering 7 runs in this game. So his first ever major league start on 3 days rest does not end well. And he struggled early, and then Bobby, he really battled for about 3 innings and made some great pitches, but couldn't get an out here in the 7th.
And I really thought it was going to be a job well done after 6. Mike sent him out for the top of the 7th, knowing he had Downs in the bullpen to face Hamilton, who's not hitting very well. If in fact the situation presented itself, but the situation presented itself so quickly, Dan, as you mentioned, and four pitches later they were behind in the game.
Weaver and Downs, 2 incredibly effective pitchers for the Angels this year. Neither one of them able to get an out here this inning. Very close. Now they're checking on the count right now. It is strike 3. All kinds of confusion on the delayed call by Jim Wolf, and kind of gave it a strike 2 call, not a strike 3 call, and everybody was confused. But it is strike 3, so Napoli strikes out, and now the Angels will put Moreland on and pitch to Torrealba.
Well, the first intentional walk of this inning is at third base and Michael Young. Now Mitch Moreland will be out first in the second intentional walk, and Mike Scioscia obviously is trying to catch a little lightning in a bottle here, get a ground ball double play and out of the inning and keep it at 3-run deficit.
All the runs that have been charged to Weaver have come in. None of the men on base are his responsibility right now, but he's sitting and watching as activity begins again in the Angels pen. Looks like it's Rodney as we try to check through the screen. There's ball 4. Moreland to first. Torrealba coming up. It's already been a big night for Torrealba defensively and offensively. This was back in the second inning. Off Jared Weaver, the 5th home run of the season for Torrealba. A chance to really break it open.
Throwing that ball in is trying to get a ground ball to the third baseman to get a double play. Ball was up a little, fouled off. Had the first baseman trumble in case there's a squibber off the end of the bat. He'll come home to try to get the force out at home. Everybody else is playing for 2, second to first.
To short. There's 1 and 2, and the Angels do turn the double play to end the inning. The Rangers get 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th and now lead 8-5. By Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Top of the 8th inning here at Rangers Ballpark in Arlington, Texas, with 4 in the bottom of the 7th. And the Rangers 2 games up on the Angels atop the American League West. Now have an 8-5 lead. And Ron Washington turns it over to a relative newcomer with the Rangers, Mike Adams, who has had a great season as the setup man for San Diego and has now assumed, Bobby, the same role here with the Texas Rangers. They'll have a new center fielder playing behind him. Andy Chavez, who pinch hit for Craig Gentry, will stay in the game in center.
Well, he is in a Texas Ranger uniform for this exact situation. Right-handed hitters, 8th inning to preserve a win. He has a lights-out slider, throws it at the middle of the plate, almost unhittable for a right-handed hitter.
And a 93-mile-an-hour fastball at the knees for strike 1.
That's a good compliment to that slider that everybody has in the back of their mind.
Hunter tonight has walked, struck out, and grounded out. Adams sets very high and kind of a herky-jerky motion that he's got. Doesn't look like it would be any fun as a hitter to look at that.
has great success against right-handers. He's a very good pitcher, and he, along with Uehara, who John Daniels got during the trade deadline, are going to bolster this bullpen. Felice has really pitched well since they've come on.
Hunter with a bouncer to third. Short hop by Young. One down. As Bobby mentioned, the two moves the Rangers made at the deadline were picking up a couple of quality relievers. Uehara to work the 7th inning. Adams to work the 8th inning. Uehara in particular has not pitched as well as they had hoped since he got here, but they feel that, with a track record and his ability to make adjustments, he'll settle down. And Adams, although he gave up the home run to Trumbo, who's stepping in right now, has still been an effective pitcher since the trade. Let's go down to Pedro Gomez.
Hey guys, as Torrey Hunter was walking into the dugout, Vernon Wells was walking up the steps. Wells asked him, what does Adams have? This is a National League pitcher. They really haven't seen him. Hunter told him it's a slider that starts at the plate, just like you guys said, and dips away off of the plate. Wells getting a little bit of a scouting report there.
Wells on deck right now, about to get a first-hand look at Adams. So far, though, he's featuring the fastball, Bobby.
Yeah, it has a little cut. It's moving away at 94, but they haven't seen the slider yet until now. Actually, he might throw another fastball up out of the zone before he goes to that slider, but I think he can go right to it, get the second out of the inning.
Weekly hit up the first baseline, and it will go foul. So the Angels did not get a break like that on the bunt, where it just died in fair territory for a base hit. Here the Rangers do get a break as that ball spins foul. The Angels leading most of the night, get a run in the first. We're up 2-0, then 4-1, then 5-4. After the Rangers had tied it, then the Rangers erupted for 4 runs in the just completed bottom of the 7th to take their first lead of the night. Again, the 0-2. There's a hard down and away slider. Is that almost a cutter? 89 miles an hour running down and away from a righty.
And then not many people in uniform who could do anything with that pitch other than take it.
Bayer Advanced Aspirin wants you to know that for the rest of the season, Bayer will be donating $10 to the Red Cross for every strike thrown at 95 miles per hour or faster. For more information, log on to speedupyourrelief.com. 2 down in the inning. Adams to face Wells.
Boy, that's a good pitch.
You're breaking into a cold sweat up here. You okay?
You have to take it. You really do. If you go to swing at that, it's going to break your bat, or you're going to swing and miss. It's right at the middle of the plate, and then, let me go outside.
And it's hard.
Very hard.
89 on the last one, 88 on this one.
When you see the fastball, you've got to jump on it. Even though you're 3 runs down, you can't be working the count in this situation. You have to try to hit the pitch that you have a chance on, and that's the fastball.
Weaver hanging in there. Out of this game, but watching the end of it. His team down 8-5. If they lose tonight, they'll be 3 games out. Just low. Alberto Callaspo on deck should the inning continue. There's the slider again. Swing and a miss. 2-2.
Well, they say you swing at what you see, and hitters see fastball when he throws that slider. And they swing at it as though it's going to stay on a fastball plane. And in that last 7 or 8 feet on its way to the plate, it just darts outside.
Wells just pretty defensive right now, just trying to make contact with that fastball.
Yeah, he was leaning outside thinking he was going to reach out and try to find out where that slider was, and at the last minute swung at a high fastball and barely fouled it off. He's really selling out the inside part of the plate, looking out over the plate, looking for that slider away. It's a tough place to be.
Inning over. An overpowering inning by Mike Adams. Rangers still lead. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. We go to the bottom of the 8th inning here in Arlington. The Rangers have an 8-5 lead over the Angels, inching closer to a 3-game lead atop the American League West. MLB.TV baseball everywhere. Watch over 100 live out-of-market games per week online and on your favorite devices. Visit MLB.TV for details. New pitcher for the Angels as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Veteran right-hander Fernando Rodney becomes the 4th pitcher of the night. Trying to keep it at just a 3-run deficit and give his Angels a fighting chance heading to the 9th inning, where they are sure to encounter Neftali Feliz. David Murphy leads it off.
Murphy's double last inning really was a frustrating moment and a turning moment in this game, where it seemed like Jared Weaver could make a pitch and get him out. Instead, he made a mistake, gave up a double. It's all downhill from there.
Weaver allowing 7 earned runs in 6+ innings. Gave up 8 earned runs a couple of weeks back in a start against the Blue Jays. This is the second worst outing that he has had this year. Murphy 1 for 3 overall. He'll be followed by Kinsler and then Andrews. The Rangers are off tomorrow, and then they'll start a series here in Arlington against the Rays on Tuesday. Again, they've got 4 off days between now and the end of the season. The Angels only have 2 off days between now and the end of the season, and the Angels are going to fly all the way to Seattle tonight. We get a 4-game series against the Mariners tomorrow. And as we mentioned a little bit earlier, on paper it appears the Angels have a somewhat of an easier schedule, although you never know if that's going to work out. The Rangers have 6 games left with the Rays, who are playing very well right now. The Rangers also go to Boston. The Angels are home to the Yankees. And most importantly, the 2 teams finish the season with 3 games against one another in Anaheim. Full count. A hanging changeup that was ripped foul. Weaver, Downs, Cassava, and now Rodney here in the 8th inning. Andrews looking on. He's had a couple of hits, including an RBI triple in this game. Jared Weaver will be seeing Andrews in his nightmares. Murphy continues to battle.
He's doing a good job following off that pitch away that he has so much trouble handling. If he does that enough, he'll get a mistake in the middle of the plate or inside that he can pull to right field and hit it hard.
Ball 4. The bottom of the 7th, the pivotal inning in this game. First pitch of the inning, David Murphy doubles. Second pitch of the inning, Ian Kinsler singles him home. Third pitch of the inning, Elvis Andrews with a bunt single. Fourth pitch of the inning, Josh Hamilton with an RBI single after an intentional walk. Andy Chavez would single through the drawn-in infield, scoring 2. And Texas had 4 runs in the blink of an eye. Up 8-5 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Leadoff man aboard. Here's Kinsler. Jared Weaver making his first ever start on 3 days rest. Struggled early. Steadied himself in the middle innings, but then couldn't get an out in the 7th. Lost the lead. Josh Hamilton has homered and driven in 3. The Rangers hoping to leave here tonight. Leave the ballpark tonight with a 3-game lead over the Angels. Good changeup, swung on and missed, 1-1. Backhanded it short to second one, and no throw as Murphy takes out Kendrick, who had already decided to put the ball in his pocket, but a good hard takeout slide by Murphy. Crowd liked the effort and the slide by Murphy.
Like you said, Kendrick knew where he was. He had the bag to protect him. He wasn't going to throw this ball.
No, he didn't even have it. Popped out of his hand as we see it again.
What you'd really like to do is free your legs so you don't get a knee caught as the runner's sliding into you. Luckily, he just turned and kept the force away from his knees.
So it goes as a fielder's choice for Kinsler. He's at first with one out, and here's Andrews. Thinking fastball, got the change.
Rodney's not paying any attention to the runners at first. Murphy first and Kinsler now.
Andrews 2 for 4 tonight off Weaver. 12 for 18 off Weaver this season.
Got their attention. I think that was Mike Scioscia seeing Kinsler in the pitch before, ready to take off, realizing that he could have gotten a very early jump, and from the bench a little step off was called.
There he goes. And the throw into center field. Kinsler on his way to third. Not a whole lot that could be done by the infielders. That throw came closest actually to Ron Culpa, the second base umpire.
It almost hit him in the back. Mathis knows he has no chance. He has to rush. Never gets turned. Throws it to the umpire, who decides not to make a play on it.
So it's a stolen base in E2. Infield in now for the Angels.
With Rodney out of the mound and Hamilton on deck, the infield in, I think Kinsler will stay at third if the ball's hit on the ground, not playing contact. Give Josh another chance to stay hot. Driving a runner from third with 2 outs.
And Rodney's all over the place right now.
Actually is a great pitch if you want to establish the outside part of the plate. It's not thrown at the hitter. It's thrown right under his elbow.
Full count.
And he's just rearing back and throwing. That's another inside fastball, giving Elvis a chance to take a good swing at that pitch. You have to think the outside is wide open right now if Rodney can execute a pitch out there, but you don't want to walk him with Josh Hamilton coming up, that's for sure.
Base hit up the middle. Another run will score. Twice tonight the Angels have brought the infield in, and twice a Texas hitter, Bobby, has hit a 3-hopper right up the middle of the diamond.
You just hit them where they ain't. That's what we Willie Keeler used to say, and that's what the Rangers have done tonight. They're diving. They're missing. Josh won't take any time taking pitches. He's feeling good now. Last 2 pitches he saw, he swung at.
Swings at this one, and he fouls it back.
Once again, without paying any attention to the runner, Elvis was taking off on the pitch. Had it stolen easily if Josh was in the take mode, but he's in the swing mode.
Yeah. Ron Washington said he wants to see some damage from Josh Hamilton. A 2-run homer back in the third, an RBI single an inning ago. Two balls and a strike. You see just the incredible running action that some of the fastballs from Rodney had. Looked like they moved about over a foot away from a left-handed batter. Neftali Feliz, the closer for the Rangers, is up. No longer a save situation, with Texas adding a run here in the bottom of the eighth. And he was up, so he'll come in. At least that's the plan at the moment. And he's been pitching great lately.
He's really been pitching so much better since the addition of Uehara and Adams. He's using all of his pitches. He's not just coming in trying to get everyone out with fastballs the way Rodney's doing, trying to do for the Angels here.
Base hit up the middle. Andrews will make the turn and head into third. Third hit of the night for Josh Hamilton.
Here he is, knowing a fastball is coming. He's going to start his swing very early, Josh Hamilton is, and get all of the beats working together. He has that beat. He raises that elbow. The bat gets into the cocking position. He does get firm. He does get turned. He's starting to feel good now. He hit a change up to center field. He hit a fastball to right field off our left-hander. Now fastball up the middle against a right-hander without Cruz. Hamilton must get hot, and he might be answering the call.
Cruz leaving earlier tonight with a hamstring injury. Adrian Beltre still out. They hope to get him back Thursday when the rosters expand. Now Michael Young. Fly ball to right field. Hunter the catch. Here comes the runner. Collision at the plate, and out at the plate is Andrews as Mathis hangs on. Torrey Hunter with his 13th outfield assist of the season to end the inning. The Rangers will take a 4-run lead to the ninth. the final major of the season begins on ESPN2 tomorrow afternoon with all of your favorite stars. Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, the Williams sisters, Sharapova, and more will all be in New York swinging for the championship. The U.S. Open on ESPN2 coverage begins at 1 Eastern and continues with prime time of the U.S. Open, presented by IBM at 7 Eastern. To the top of the ninth inning, a 9-5 lead for the Rangers. Big comeback for them in the late innings. Neftali Feliz is now on to try to close it out for Texas and give them a 3-game lead in the AL West. Alberto Callaspo leads it off for the Angels. Feliz has been on some kind of a tear. You see his overall numbers on the season. But in his last 9 appearances, he has not given up a run. And opposing batters, Bobby, are 1 for 26.
He's throwing the ball extremely well last year, being the Rookie of the Year, bringing his team to the World Series. Got off to a slow start because they were going to make him a starter in spring training. They might try to do that again next year. But right now, he's the closer that's going to try to bring this team back to the World Series.
Bottom third of the order for the Angels: Callaspo, Ibar, and Mathis. They're down 4. Again, not a safe situation for Feliz after the Rangers picked up that 1 run on the bottom of the 8th. Josh Hamilton, a big story tonight. 3 hits and 3 RBIs. Yorvit Torrealba hit a home run. Elvis Andrus, 3 hits and a couple of RBIs. And maybe the tone setter late in the game, Bobby, was the job that Mike Adams did in the 8th inning. It'll get lost, assuming Texas goes on to win. It'll get lost in some of the other headlines, but he took care of the middle of the lineup for the Angels. Ground out, strikeout, strikeout, and he was overpowering.
He has a great arm, and he's a great addition to this ball club, as is Uehara, who has 10 strikeouts and 1 walk since he's been here.
In the air to shallow left. Hamilton to catch, 1 down. Now let's go way back for Josh Hamilton to the 3rd inning. A line drive rocket to center field. 2-run shot for Hamilton, his 18th home run of the season. Part of a big 3-for-4, 3 RBI night for him. Josh Hamilton is tonight's Chevrolet Player of the Game. One down, here's Ibar. So to put it in perspective, the Angels came into this series 2 games down, and they went with Irvin Santana, Jared Weaver on short rest last night and tonight. Santana won. Weaver's on the hook for a loss. If Texas wins it, they will get out of here 3 games up on the Angels with a month to play in a 3-game series between these 2 teams in Anaheim in the final 3 days of the regular season.
You know, the game's all about sending messages, and Mike Scioscia sends as good a message to his team as any manager in baseball. Yet, during this series, he sent a message to 2 of his starters that really he didn't want them to pitch in the big series. He wanted to bring 2 guys back in short rest. Then he sent a message to his bullpen with the score. Watch his play.
Hamilton again, 2 down.
With his team 1 run up after 6 innings of well-pitched, gutty baseball, he decided to send Weaver back out for the 7th inning, and then basically sending a message to his bullpen that they can't hold a 1-run lead in a big series. So he's going to have to erase those negative vibes that some of his players might have and go into this last month of the season and make the last 3 games of the series as important as he tried to make these 3 games coming here to Texas.
Meiser is Torres batting for Jeff Mathis. Major League action continues on ESPN tomorrow night, 7 Eastern. The Phillies take on the Reds, and then Wednesday night baseball, it'll be the Yankees and the Red Sox. Both games also available on ESPN3.com. Bouncer to first. Texas takes 2 out of 3, and they've got a 3-game lead in the American League West. Texas pitchers retire 15 of the final 16 Angel hitters. Big offensive nights for Hamilton, Andrews, Torrealba. Darren Oliver gets the win. Adams and Feliz finish up. And the Rangers are up by 3. They take 2 out of 3 and add a game to their lead after this weekend series with the Angels. Still a month to go. Still a lot of baseball left, and still 3 games remaining between these two teams. But a good weekend for the Rangers, winning the series and adding a game to their lead. Again, the final from Rangers Ballpark in Arlington. The Rangers 9 and the Angels 5. Up next on Sports on ESPN is Sports Center. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Bobby Valentine, Buster Olney, Pedro Gomez, and our crew, I'm Dan Schulman saying thanks for watching, and so long.